So, speaking of things that are cool to on, let's talk about Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, sitting on Rotten Tomatoes with a 43% rotten critic score,
Critics.
but an 85% fresh
The one that matters.
user score,
We can just
audience
say it.
score, and it's on IMDb with a 6.6.
I've been waiting 40 years for this. They called themselves Ghostbusters. According to these hacks, they saved the world.
This movie is cool to hate right now, and I'm seeing it on film Twitter, where people are like, just on the Ghostbusters in general. I've seen tweets like, can we just admit that the Ghostbusters was never as good as people made it out to be, or all this? It's like cool to hate on it for some reason right now.
It had an animated show that was just as popular as Batman, Spider-Man, and the X-Men.
But I think the general consensus in terms of reviews is that this movie is like directionless. It doesn't know what it wants to be. It seems pointless. It's unfunny, blah, 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 blah. And I think the majority of people that went into it, it's like, I just want to see a Ghostbusters movie. We're like pretty satisfied with it. That said, I didn't love it. I enjoyed it, but it has its problems.
It felt like it failed to what's the director's name?
Gil Keenan.
Gil Keenan. Yeah, he talked about how they wanted to take stuff from the animated series rather than the part 2 movie where Vigo's in it. They wanted to make basically their own ghosts.
I think they did a good job
give it
of
its
that.
own backstory and stuff. I mean, they kind of did, but they kind of didn't. Like you kind of get the story of it. Like, okay, here's the ball. There's something inside. Oh, whatever's came out, it's cold. But that's all like, that felt like a backstory to the movie that we were watching, which was the kids in New York doing kid things and family things.
Well, that's the problem, I think, with the movie overall, is it did lack a little bit of a direction. And honestly, it felt like I don't know if you remember, but when this was first announced, I was a little bit hesitant. When I found out Jason Reitman wasn't directing, because he directed Afterlife,
Yeah.
I was like,
Well, I think he stepped down, though, because his dad just passed away. So
This was announced before, I think, Ivan Reitman passed away. Maybe he was sick and everything.
Really?
Either way, when I heard that he stepped down from directing, I was like, that's a little bit dangerous. And honestly, having watched this after watching Afterlife a couple years ago at this point, Afterlife came out in 2021. So it's only 3 years past, less than that, like a little bit more, whatever. I think if I had to guess, I don't think Jason Reitman had a huge role in the writing of this either, because the writing is really where this movie struggled for me. And it didn't have that heart and soul that Afterlife had. Afterlife was like heart and love and just like was pouring out of that movie. And it had a lot to do with the fact that, yes, it's 30 years later of a beloved franchise. Yes, it was a tribute to Harold Ramis, who was a beloved actor and director and writer. Yes, it's seeing the band back together and all this stuff. But really, it was because Jason Reitman grew up on the set of Ghostbusters 1 and 2. Like, it's him. It's inside him. And you felt that in Afterlife. That's why that movie, I say all the time, Marvin sat here for several times and heard us like gushing about Afterlife and how we said it's like the gold standard for fan service and like how to craft a good movie with fan service and new stuff. But that's because of how close Jason Reitman is to the source material, I think. And I think you could feel his absence in Frozen Empire. You get a lot of stuff that, like, I, as a Ghostbusters fanboy, would want to see. You get them living in the firehouse. You get to see, like, the everyday life of living in the firehouse, which you don't even get to see really in the original. In the original, you get, like, one scene where they're kind of, like, eating the Chinese food, or, like, you don't get a lot of, like, in the firehouse life, whereas you do get in this, which I thought was cool. You get a little bit of, like, the kids, like, living in the city, but it's not a lot.
Felt a lot like Afterlife, except
I don't think it did.
the stuff it felt a little more forced, like the love and the family messaging. It felt a little more forced, but it was just a different ghost.
Well,
Like,
this movie, I think what you mean is this movie, whereas Afterlife, the fan service in Afterlife felt like it wasn't overwhelming to where it was like offensive and in your face. It was like, oh, hey, like, here's a nod at the Nestle Crunch bar that Venkman gives Egon in the first one. Just a little throwaway little thing that's like, hey, if you remember this, good for you. That's cute.
Right.
This movie was like, hey, remember this? Hey, remember this? Hey, remember this? Again, that's why I don't think Jason Reitman was that involved in the writing, because it just seems like this movie like packed into fan service. to the point where it was like, okay, this is like, I don't really
It's cheap.
care for it. I wouldn't even say cheap. Well, yeah, kind of cheap. Especially with Bill Murray. Like Bill Murray shows up and he's like saying the same lines he said like 40 years ago. And I'm like, come on now. But overall, I actually I enjoyed the movie. The villain in this definitely played second fiddle to like the 3 other plots that were going on at the same time. So
Yeah.
I think the biggest problem with this movie is that there was just too many people in it. You have the new crew, Paul Rudd, Carrie Coon, Finn Wolfhard, McKenna Grace, and they're doing like their ghost busting stuff. All of a sudden, the kid podcast shows up. Like, he's from Oklahoma. How'd he get here?
Right.
The family moving makes sense because they inherited the
Lucky
firehouse.
also, yeah.
Especially with Lucky, she had like no place in the movie. She didn't do anything. So what's the point of even like bringing her back here? Then you got William Atherton playing Walter Peck, like for no reason, just because he was in the original. Didn't really serve much of a purpose. Marvin, you know Peck because you just watched the original.
Yeah.
He's back now and he's the mayor and he's just like, I still hate the Ghostbusters. So that like kind of made no sense. Kumail Nanjiani's in it because he's the MacGuffin. He's like the one that like kind of drives. He introduces the villain and is the answer to defeating the villain, which was comical.
The Fire Master, yeah.
He's basically a firebender. I was like, what is happening? And then Patton Oswalt is in it to give all the exposition and lore about the villain, which is what the Ghostbusters are supposed to do. Why do you need a whole new extra throwaway character to do what Ray Stantz did in the original? Like, Ray is the occult guy. Ray knows about all this stuff. Ray figures all this stuff out because he has access to Tobin's Spirit Guide and like all these books and stuff. So it's like, why would you need a whole nother character to explain this stuff to you? And then the ghost that like is kind of befriending McKenna Grace for some reason, like, well, we know the reason. And like, you knew she was going to be like the savior at the end. It was just like, there's literally like 4 or 5 even plots going that just don't jive with one another whatsoever. Personally, I thought it was a little bit of a clunky movie. So is it as good as the last one, Afterlife? No. Is it as good as Ghostbusters 2, which is not hated, but it's like less liked? No. But was it good? Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun.
It's better than that other Ghostbusters movie.
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing. It's like people talking shit about this movie. It's like, I've seen people that are just like, it's like, yo, can you just like, do you hate joy? Like, go into something like you don't it doesn't have to be Oppenheimer to enjoy it, you know?
For sure. Yeah.
Like, it's the Ghostbusters. Like, it's a fun movie. Well, there's some problems with it? Absolutely. But do I enjoy seeing Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd and the OGs like suit up again? Absolutely. You'll never not get me in a theater with these guys. In any movie, really, but Ghostbusters specifically, man. So I enjoyed it.
The ghosts being the background of the story wasn't really.
Yeah.
I want to, and you come to find out, well, it's ancient stuff. Ancient. Only 5 people in the world could read this language.
And like, what was his motivation? Like vengeance about something? Yeah, it's like so not important.
Yeah,
I think it had to pick a
it
lane.
wasn't a bad movie. It's worth a watch if you like Ghostbusters. But
Yeah.
you're not going to go away being like, "Well, that was amazing. I want to watch it again immediately." Like that's how
Not
I felt
immediately.
about Afterlife.
Afterlife, I watched it like 5 times in a row when it first came out.
Yeah.
This, I'll watch it again, but not like right away. I wish going forward, because clearly, like, the Ghostbusters has been an everlasting franchise for like they have opportunity to continue the franchise with the new group because the new crew is charming. Like, Finn Wolfhard in this movie didn't really get much to do other than be like, I'm 18.
Yeah,
Carrie Coon didn't get much to do like she did in the first one. Paul Rudd was funny. McKenna Grace is great. Like, they have a lot of opportunity to go forward with the franchise, but I think in order to do it and be good about it, they have to have the guts to move away from the original crew. Like, they had their time. We got their cameos. Like, I think it's okay to move away from them. If you want to have them show up here and there to do like little funny one-liners, throwaways, fine. But like Bill Murray at parts of this movie didn't even look like he wanted to be there. And I know it's Bill Murray, but it just seemed like it's like, all right, here's your 3 hours on set. Give us whatever you got. And he's, you know, and he's thinking about like lunch or something. But yeah, like going forward, like forget about the OGs, like focus on the new group and go back to like ghost busting again. It's one of the things I noticed when I watched the original tonight is that like a huge chunk of that movie is like them actually ghost busting. You don't get a lot of that in Afterlife because it's the kids like discovering the technology and like the mystery of what's going on and stuff. But this movie, where there was opportunity to actually do ghost busting, there really wasn't much. It was like them leaving and McKenna Grace. We're left with McKenna Grace, like, who wasn't a part of it for reasons. And you're like, oh, okay, well, I kind of want to see them bust ghosts. Yeah, but yeah, that's my overall take. Is that I think I could be wrong, but I definitely think I felt what was ultimately Jason Reitman's like absence from the overall script and stuff.
Yeah, this felt more like a money grab than an actual attempt at making what was the tribute that was Afterlife.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Yeah, but yeah. I mean, this has a 6.6 on IMDb. I'm like right there. I'd give it like a 6.5. What about you?
Yeah, 6.5.